Good afternoon. So earlier today I posted a video for you to see about the garlic press slash queen marker that I built, and so I'm doing up a how-to video with Freecad, and most of it is really simple. Um, I think the first thing that I will start with is the threaded screw nub. So, got my Freecad open. I have my part design set up here. So we're going to click on a new task. I'm going to create a body, create a sketch, XY plane base, and click OK. So first thing I want to do is grab a circle tool, and we'll draw a circle there. And I'm just going to click the center of the circle, center of the axis, and over here I'm going to click the constraint that pulls them together so the circle is centered. And then I'm going to set the dimension of the circle to 20 millimeters. And you see that's turned green, so it's constrained, so I can close that. And I want to pad that out to 4 millimeters thick. The next little piece, I'm going to make the knurling on the outside edge. So when I click the top of the pad, I'm going to create a sketch. And I want to zoom in here a little bit. Now I want to grab the multi-line tool, which is this one here. So grab that, and I'm just going to make a little triangle here. Now you notice I didn't try to join those 2 points. So the first thing I'm going to do is click that point there and that point. And then over here, I'm going to constrain those 2 together. And there we have a circle. Next thing I want to do is center the bottom of the triangle on the axis center line. So I'll click the bottom of the triangle and the center line. And I'm going to click the fix align length. And I'm going to set that to 0. Now I can drag this up a little bit. Then I want to center the top part of the triangle with the center line. So I'm going to click the 2 top dots and the center of the axis. And then I'm going to click the double arrows here. And that's going to fix that triangle evenly. Now I want to set the width of this to 1 millimeter. And I want to set the height to 1 millimeter. So I'm going to click the bottom of the triangle, the dot at the bottom of the triangle, and the line that goes across the top of the triangle. And then I want to click the fix align length, and I want to set that to 1 millimeter. And then I want to give this a distance from the center axis of 19 millimeters. And there, that's a fully constrained sketch. So I can click close. Now I want to pocket that to make a groove. And we'll set that to the same depth as the pad, so it's 4 millimeters. Now, in order to get that groove all the way around, I'm going to use a special function here. It's called Create a Polar Pattern Feature. So click that. You select the pocket that you just made. Click OK. And you'll see now it's Down here, number of recurrences, it's set to 2, so you see there's one showed up at the bottom already. But we want that all the way around, so we're going to set it to 80. And it's going to take a minute for it to draw all that out. And there we have our knurling on the outside of the disc. So we can just click OK. And if I spin the disc around, you'll see that it's got grooves all the way around it. Just gives you a little bit more something for your fingers to grab onto when you're trying to spin it. Now comes the part where we put a screw thread on it. So we want to switch from the part design workbench to the fasteners workbench. And way over here at the end, pull that down. Come on, stay down there. We want this at an arbitrary length of threaded rod. So we click that. And you notice it didn't seem to be much happen, but if we spin this around, oh, there's a piece of rod on the back of that. Now, we have to click on the model, and you can see here it's set for an M6 by 20 millimeter long screw tap. So we want to go down to the values here, and we want to change that to an M12. And once you click that, you have to hit the tab button, and there, it's resized it. And I figured out for my project it was 54 meters, needed to be 54 meters long, so we click that and hit tab. And at the bottom here it says thread false. You want to change that to true and hit tab. And there we have our almost complete threaded rod or threaded screw. So now I want to put a little hole in the cap here so that I can put an M3 screw down through it to fasten the disc onto the top of on the top of this when it's inside the cylinder. So switch from the fasteners to the part workbench, and we simply click on this create a cylinder, and there we have a cylinder. But you can see it's stuck out the back there. That's not where we want it. So click on the cylinder under the tree view, and under placement, you hit the arrow and it opens that up. And then under position, you click the arrow and that opens it up. And we want to change the Z-axis. And you can see now it's moving. And we'll set that to 55 millimeters, or minus 55 millimeters. And you can see the end of that just sticking out through the top there. Now we want to set the radius to 1.25 millimeters. And we can set the height to 11 millimeters. And what that does, it sizes that little rod to a size just so that an M3 screw will screw into it and make its own threads. So now you're wondering, how do we get that to be a hole? Well, there's another function under the part workbench where you can actually cut that cylinder away and leave the hole there. So what we want to do, in order to make a cut, you have to click the part first that you want to cut from. So we want to cut from the threaded rod, and then you hold down the control key, click the cylinder, and now up here you'll see this set of circles, blue and white circle, and it's make a cut of two shapes. So you click that, and away goes, and there you have your hole in the end. And that's it. That's it for the threaded rod portion of it. So let's go back to part design. And we want to create a new sketch. We want to create a body, create a sketch, XY plane base, click OK. So the next part of this, we want to make a disc to fit on the top of that. So we grab the circle. Oh, sorry, wrong circle. Grab the circle tool, make a circle, center the circle by clicking on the center of the circle and center of the axis, clicking on this button over here. And then we want to set the outside dimension of that to 18.8 millimeters. And that will make that disc just big enough that it will fit into the in with the cylinder, so it'll slide up and down the cylinder. And now it's fully constrained, so we can click close, and we want to make a pad out of that so that we have a disc, and we only want it to be 2 millimeters thick. Click OK. And so now the only other thing we have to do is put a hole in the center of that. So click the top of the disc, click create sketch, back over here, grab a circle, the circle tool, and we're going to make a small circle here in the middle. We're going to once again center that circle by clicking the center of the circle and center of the axis, and we constrain it just like that to make sure it's centered. And then we click on that and we click on constrain an arc. And we want that to be 1.7 millimeters. And that equates to a 3.4 millimeter hole, which is large enough for an M3 screw to go through, but it won't be loose. It won't be sloppy. So click close, and now we want to select the pocket function over here on the left and make that 2 millimeters. And there we have the disc, and that's all that is just a disc. Okay, so the next part is the cylinder. So we want to create a new empty document. Want to create a body, want to create a sketch, an XY plane base, and click OK. And so the first thing we want to do is grab the circle tool, draw out a circle, and center it. And then we want to set the size of that circle to 20 millimeters. Now, when I say that's 20 millimeters, the way Freecad works, it only measures half of the circle. So this overall is going to be 40 millimeter wide circle. And that is about 1 5/8 inches. So you're looking at a very small item, but it's still big enough to be usable. So we want to close that. And we want to pad that. So we want to click the pad. Now, I want to make this 60 millimeters high. And we'll make it a bit smaller here. We'll zoom in on it. So there we have our cylinder. Now, we want to click on the top of the cylinder, create a sketch, and once again, we want to grab the circle tool, and we want to draw a circle in the center there. And We want to center that circle, so we click those two dots and click the constraint button up there. And then we click the outside of the circle and constrain an arc. And we make that 19 millimeters. And that's going to give us a 1 millimeter thick wall. And so now we can close that because you can see that's fully constrained because it turned green. Now we want to pocket that to 57 millimeters. And the reason I'm doing that is so it gives us a 3 millimeter thick base in which to put a threaded hole through. So you can see we have a basic cylinder there. So now I want to, cancel that. I want to go back to the fasteners workbench. And I want to click the add an arbitrary length of threaded rod. We'll click that. And over here in the combo view or tree view, click the model, and you can see it here. But we have to move this around. Now it's sort of stuck out the back. That's fine. We're going to fix that. So now we want to change that to an M12. Hit tab. And we only need it to be 5 millimeters long. So hit tab. And we want it to be threaded. So we change the thread from false to true, hit tab. Now there's one further step here. That is stuck out the back of the cylinder. So what we have to do is under placement, click the down arrow, and we click the little arrow for the position, and under Z axis, we want to hit the plus 3 times. We want to move it 3 millimeters. So I think if we look inside, maybe 4 millimeters. There. So you can see the top of it just sticking through the inside, and the bottom of it just sticking through the bottom of the cylinder. So now we have to do a cut on that. So we have to go from the fasteners workbench to the part workbench. And now we want to click on pocket. Hold down the control key, click on the screw tap. And then up here, make a cut of 2 shapes. Click that. And there we have our cylinder with the threaded hole in the bottom of it. All right, so that's the cylinder portion of it. So let's just make sure we're on task. We want another new document. Okay. Why didn't it create a new? Oh, sorry. Before we do click on that, we have to switch back to the part design. Click part design. And now we want to click create a new empty document. Now we can create a body, create a sketch, XY plane, click OK. Now for the cap, first thing we want to do is grab the circle. And once again, same as all the other circle functions, we make a circle, we center it, and we want to set it to 22 millimeters. It has to be bigger than the cylinder, so it'll fit over the cylinder. So now we can click close, and we want to pad that, and we want to make it 8 millimeters deep. Click OK. Now we want to turn this into a cap type of a design, so we want to click the top of the pad, create a sketch. Once again, grab the circle, draw a circle in the middle there, do the same centering. Click the outside of the circle, and we're going to set it to 20.4 millimeters. And that is just going to make it just slightly bigger than the actual cylinder. And it should just slip easily over the top of the cylinder. And so we can click close, and now we want to pocket this part here, so we click pocket, and it's 7.25 millimeters. Click OK. Okay. So now we want to create a grid of holes. Now this is where it may get interesting. So we want to create a sketch. Now we want to grab the rectangle function, and right here, somewhere right around here, we'll just draw a rectangle, and we want to set its width to 4 millimeters, and we want to set its height to 4 millimeters. And now we'll grab this outside corner and the center, and we'll set that to 14 millimeters. And then once again, we'll grab that top outside corner and the horizontal center, and we'll set that to 14 millimeters. And there we have a fully constrained hole there, or the sketch. So we click close, and we want to pocket that. And we'll just make that 1 millimeter. That's good enough. Now you're wondering, how does he have to draw all them squares? And the answer is no. I let the program do this for me. So up here on the icon bar, it's create a multi-transform feature. So you click that. You click the pocket that we just made. Click OK. And now down here in the bottom, under transformations, you right click, and we want to make a linear pattern feature. So click that. Now, because this cap is not 100 millimeters wide, we got to set it to a distance that will fit the other squares into the inside circle of this. And I figured this out to be 24 millimeters. And we want 6 occurrences of that set of holes. Now, we're not quite done yet. You want to go back under transformations, you right click, and you want to add a linear pattern feature. But this time, we want to change this to the vertical axis. I'm going to set this to 24 millimeters, and we want to set this to 6. Oh, but you still can't see it because it's all at the top. So now click the reverse direction. And there's our grid pattern of holes for the cap. Now you can either use the cap like this, or I added another little piece onto it just to, and we click OK over here. I added just another little piece onto it just to make it a little bit tighter when it was slipped on. So what I did was I clicked the top portion of the ring. When I click create a sketch there, and just going to zoom in on that a bit. So I want to grab the rectangle tool, and I want to draw a small rectangle right about there. Now, I want to click the two top outside corners, the center line, and then we'll click the double arrows to center that. I want to make this 4 millimeters wide. And I want to make this 2 millimeter, no, yeah, 2 millimeters deep, yes. And I want to set this top corner distance from the center, or you can use the bottom corner, it doesn't matter, to, oh, cancel. I'm going to use the bottom corner because that's what I did originally. Set that to 19. Nope, maybe 20. There. So we zoom in on that. We got a little bit of overhang on the outside, but it really won't hurt it to, when you turn this into a 3D model, you probably won't notice the outside, but we're going to have a bit of an overhang here on the inside, which is going to put a little bit of pressure on the cylinder just to hold it in place. So we'll click close. I'll make that 5 millimeters high. Okay. So now, before I do anything else, I want to turn this around. I want to click the side of that. I want to create a sketch. Let's zoom in on it a bit. And once again, I want to grab the multi-line or polyline tool. And I'm going to click here, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click there. Now, I want to grab these two end dots there, and then we're going to constrain them together. And I want the top of this to be 1.5 millimeters. I want the height of it to be 5 millimeters. And then I want, oh, gotta move this over a bit. This to be 20 millimeters. And you click the top button there, or the top corner, click the center. I should make that 20 millimeters. And then click there, click the bottom of this little rectangle or triangle, click the center line, and we want a height of 8. So now it's fully constrained, and we click close. We pocket that and set it 4 millimeters. And what I've done is I've given that a little bit of a slope so that it'll easily slip over the outside of the cylinder. And one last thing. we want to create a polar pattern feature here. So we click that, and we want to click the pad 1 and click OK. And now you see it's created 2 occurrences of that, but we want 4. Okay, so now we have 4 occurrences of that, but you notice that these 3 do not have the slopes on it. So you can click Add a Feature, and if you just click this edge, you click the slope edge of the original one, it adds pocket 2 over here to the feature, and it says transform succeeded. We can click OK, and if you look at it, all those little tabs have got slopes on them, so that'll just easily drop over the cylinder. And that's it for the 4 parts that I designed and printed. I printed the cap in a clear material, so you should be able to see the queen down through the openings. And I printed the cylinder in a clear material, and you should be able to see through the side of that a little bit. It's a little bit opaque, but you should still be able to see through it. And I just selected a random color. I had purple on hand, so that's what I printed the screw knob and the disc out of. And I wanted to have some white foam rubber for the top of the disc, and that's basically a cushion, so that if you get a little overzealous and you screw up a bit too much, there's still some relief there for the queen, so she won't get smooshed out through the grid. The only thing I had on hand was the black, so I'm going to try and either order some white, or have another look around here, because I was sure I had some white, but I couldn't find it. So anyway, so all these 4 parts, you can see, you can just click through them. Now, there's one thing I should probably show you. These will all mesh just fine, except for this. It will mesh fine, but you have to do something a little tricky with it. So let's show you that. So mesh design and meshes. We'll create a mesh from the shape, and we want to do the standard. Now if we go under model, I'm going to fire up Kira here. All right. So if we just right click and export this, and let's just go test, and we load the test file, open, and the test, you'll see it's kind of missing some stuff. So what you want to do is click body. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, hold down the control key, polar pattern, and cut. And then you go up here under meshes, and right down at the bottom of that menu is merge. So you click merge, and then you export that. Let's just export that as test. And under Kira, if you right click here, you can reload all models. And want to click on that, and we rotate it. And you can see that we have, here, let's just put this back on move. You can see we have the hole, we have the threaded rod, and we have the knurl cylinder. So sometimes in Freecad, if you're doing these weird things like cuts and screws and stuff, you go to mesh it. Sometimes the mesh that you want to save, like this cut meshed, will not have everything in it. So you kind of have to click around, like the body and the polar pattern and the and the cut, and then merge those together, and then you'll get the whole piece. Okay, so now you can just save this or export that, and you can do the same. You can mash all of these pieces, and all right, so test 2. Yeah, it's going to want to save all these as you go through them. And so you just click on that, and you just mesh it. And again, export it, and you're good to go. You can load that up in your favorite 3D slicing application and set it up for your printer and send it out to your printer. So I hope you learned something from this video, and please let me know if you got anything out of this, and I will talk to you again soon. And I really want to thank you for watching, and I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. I guess that's it. Bye for now, and we'll talk to you again soon.